are going to talk about Linux file permissions. And let's start by saying that the permissions on Unix-like machines or systems are of three kinds. So we have user permissions, group permissions, and others permissions. In this case, what you see on the screen here, we have that the first three characters here represent the user permissions, and then we have the next three characters which represent the group permissions, and then we have the last set of permissions that are, the last three characters that represent the others permissions. So having said that, let's do the following. First, what we need to know is that the R, the right, and the X represent the type of permission. For example, the R represents, let's do a better R so we don't get confused here. Okay, the R represents the read permissions, and then we have the W, which represents the write permissions, and then we have the X, which represents the execute permissions. So now what we can see here is that the user has permission to read, to write, and to execute. Now for the group, we see the three characters are empty. There is nothing there that says that the group has permission to write, to execute, to read, and the same for others. There is no permission to read, to write, or to execute. Now, if we look at the second file, the bank.txt file, we see that the user has permission to execute, but doesn't have permission to write or to read or to write. And the same for the group, doesn't have any permissions. The same for others, doesn't have any permissions. Now, for the next one, computer.txt, in that file, the user has the permission to read, to write, and to execute. Now the group doesn't have any permissions, and then other doesn't have any permissions as well. So based on this information here, we can give permissions to each group using the three characters that belong to each group. Now, this first character, this D, please forget about that for now. That's not as important at the moment, as we are talking specifically about the file permissions. So we are focusing in the 9 characters that we see after this one here. Okay. Now, something that is important here is that in order to use a command called chmod, this command is used to change the file permissions. We use this command plus a number, which consists of 3 digits. I will explain what is that and how we use it. And following that number, okay, let's see the number and then the name of the file. And, okay, let's, for example, the file name .txt. So we use the chmod command plus a 3-digit number and the name of the file that we want to change the permissions for. Now, what we do, and this is the way I learned it, and I thought it was very easy to explain and to understand, is that I number the characters in this way. One, let's do it with black so we don't get confused here. Okay, so 1, 2, 4. That makes a 7, right, for this user. Next, we do the same. Oh, we are missing one here. Okay, for the group, and then we do the same for the user. So here we have the user. Let's do user. Then we have the group, right? And then we have others here. So as you notice here, each group, the user group, has its own 3 characters and its own digits, 1, 2, 4. Next, the group has its own 3 characters and the same. The digits sum at 7, right? Then we have others here. Again, 3 characters which sum at 7, right? Okay. Now, let's say I want to add let's add read permission to the file bank here. Okay, I want to add read permission. So what we have so far is this, right? An X here, but we don't have anything else. So if I want to add the read permission, I would have to be able to see a read here, right? I want to add the read permission for the user group. How do I do this? Well, that's very easy. You just have to add the 2 numbers that have a letter on top. For instance, here, 2 doesn't have anything here, so we forget all that. Just nothing there. But 4 has an R on top, right? So that's 4. And then 2 doesn't have anything. Then 1 has an X. So we have 4 plus 1 is 5, right? Okay. Here there is nothing on top, nothing on top of the 4, of the 2, of the 1. So that's just zeros. Then this would represent 5. This would represent 0. This will represent 0. So that's 500. Now, remember I told you, you need to use the command chmod 500 and then the name of the file, which was what? bank.txt, right? So we just come over here and type the name of the file, and that's it.